In the heart of a lush green forest, all the animals gathered once a year. This event was known as the Pact of Peace, where each animal promised honesty and loyalty. Among them was Felix the fox, charming and clever, but not always sincere. He smiled as he repeated the oath with the others, hiding his real intentions. Next to him stood Benny the badger, who truly believed in the oath. Felix had a plan: to trick the animals into trusting him and then take advantage. "I'll pretend to be helpful and generous," he whispered to himself, smirking. That very day, he approached an old rabbit named Rosie. "Let me help you gather carrots." "It's the least I can do," he said sweetly. Rosie, surprised but grateful, handed him her basket. Rosie waited for hours at the stump where she gave her basket. But Felix never returned, nor did the carrots. Tears welled up in her eyes. Why would he do this? That night, Benny the badger overheard Rosie crying near the burrow. He immediately suspected Felix, remembering the fox's sly smile. The next morning, Benny went to confront Felix near the riverbank. "You promised honesty, Felix." "Did you steal from Rosie?" he asked firmly. Felix laughed it off. "It's just carrots, Benny. She's old, she'll forget." But Benny's eyes narrowed. "You didn't just break her trust. You broke your word to us all." Felix turned away, unaffected by Benny's disappointment. Word spread quickly through the forest about Felix's betrayal. Animals whispered behind trees, doubting if the Pact of Peace meant anything now. Even young ones like Timmy the tortoise asked, "If Felix lied, why should we keep promises?" Rosie stopped coming out of her burrow, too ashamed and hurt. Felix, however, continued roaming the forest, pretending nothing happened. One day Felix saw Daisy the deer with a cart full of apples. "Let me help you with that," he offered. "It looks heavy for you." Daisy hesitated but agreed, thinking perhaps he had changed. Felix pulled the cart, whistling a tune, until they reached a fork in the trail. Suddenly, he sprinted off into the woods with the cart. That evening, Benny called an emergency meeting near the great oak. "Felix has broken the pact twice. What should we do?" he asked. The owl, wise and old, said, "If promises are broken without consequence, peace will fall apart." Everyone agreed to take action, not to punish Felix, but to protect the forest's values. They decided to no longer trust or trade with the fox. The next day, Felix tried to join a squirrel's nut swap, but was turned away. He offered help to a hedgehog and was ignored. Even birds stopped singing when he passed by. "What's wrong with everyone?" he muttered. "It was just a few lies." But the silence grew heavy, and Felix started feeling alone. That night, Felix sat by the river, watching the moon reflect on the water. He remembered Rosie's kindness and Benny's warnings. A pang of guilt hit his heart, stronger than he'd ever felt. For once I had a family, and I betrayed them all, he whispered. Tears welled up in his eyes for the first time in years. The next morning, he went to Rosie's burrow with a basket of fresh carrots. I know it doesn't fix what I did, but I'm sorry, he said softly. Rosie looked at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. You must earn back trust, Felix, not just with words, but with actions. He nodded solemnly. I will. Over the weeks, Felix worked hard, gathering food, helping dig burrows, repairing nests. Some animals still avoided him, but others began to soften. He never asked for praise, just kept working silently. He even gave up his favorite spot by the stream for the young ones to play. His actions slowly spoke louder than his past lies. One rainy day, a flash flood struck the lower forest. Benny was trapped under a fallen tree, water rising fast. Felix, without hesitation, leapt into the flood and lifted the branch. He dragged Benny to safety, risking his own life. The entire forest witnessed his courage. At the next gathering, the owl spoke again. Felix once broke our pact, but he's shown what true change looks like. Rosie stepped forward. Forgiveness doesn't erase pain, but it can heal it. The animals nodded, and Felix was welcomed again, not with cheers, but with trust. He had earned his place, not by charm, but by choice. Final moral. A broken promise breaks trust forever, but true effort can rebuild what lies destroyed.